and welcome to Conversations with Matt DeLockery. Today I want to talk about what's wrong with judging others. Now, if we take just a minute and think about what it actually takes to judge another person fairly, I think we're quickly going to realize that we don't possess this ability. I can think of two very important things that we do not have. First, we lack full knowledge of the person being judged. To begin with, we usually have no idea where the other person has been, what shaped them into who they are, and why they think the way they do. A person's background and past experiences make a big difference in who they are today. Perhaps if we had been in the other person's shoes, we might think or act in a similar way to what we find objectionable. Really, we can only see other people from the outside. We can never see them from the inside as they see themselves or as God sees them. Even if we are very close to someone, we still do not always understand his or her heart or mind completely. None of us can see things from God's perspective, and we would do well to remember this. Second, we are not morally faultless. We all like to think we're pretty good people, but if we're honest, most of us probably think that we are better morally than we actually are. This makes it less likely that we can judge fairly. After all, a judge that has blind spots due to his own faults is going to make mistakes. How can we still think that judging others is a good idea if we know that we make mistakes? God has the ability to judge fairly because he's morally faultless and has complete knowledge of those he's judging. He is in a position to both know the full story as well as make a judgment without having any blind spots. Of course, none of us is God. So what are we humans to do? Can we never talk about serious issues or have conversations about controversial topics? If a good friend is going down a bad path, can we not say something? If that person really is our friend, would we not be obligated? The issue we are dealing with is this. It makes a lot of sense to say that we should never judge others. There are too many things wrong with human judgment for us to be fair. On the other hand, there are quite a lot of things wrong with the world. You only have to open your eyes to know that. However, if we have no ability to know which things need to be fixed and which ones don't, how can we progress in this world? Let's think of this in the context of an individual person. And let's assume that the person in question actually has some character flaw that needs to be fixed. The following is what Jesus had to say about judgment. Judge not, that you not be judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice a log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Matthew 7, 1-5. Most people who read this passage stop with verse 1. They read the part that says don't judge, and then don't bother finishing the section. Jesus' commandment on judging is not simply never to judge, rather he said not to be hypocritical. That does not mean that we have to pretend that everything everyone does is okay. It means we need to make sure we are not guilty of the same thing. Before accusing others, we need to take a look in the mirror. We need to seriously examine ourselves first to make sure we don't do the same thing that we see as wrong in others. This is not easy. For example, anyone who has ever heard or seen themselves in a recording knows it's not fun. No one likes how they look or sound. Looking at yourself in a moral mirror, however, is much harder. Nevertheless, Jesus' command is to address our own faults before we try to address others. Given the imperfection in all of us, actually doing this means that we will spend nearly all of our time working on our own problems. Fixing a problem such as a bad temper or talking about others behind their backs takes a long time to solve. In all likelihood, mastering a deficiency will take years. Focusing on our own faults, however, not only makes us better people, but it also changes our attitudes. If we actually make real changes in our own lives, the following conversations will look different. Instead of saying, you're wrong and you need to change, we'll be more like, I've walked that path, but there's a better way. Let me help you and walk through it with you. These may or may not be welcome words, but the attitude behind them is very different from one that carries the implication, I'm better than you. These words say, I've been where you are, and I would like to help, if you will let me. Yes, people do wrong things. No, I don't think we should ignore when others do wrong, in no small part because their actions affect all of those around them. No action is entirely personal. Everything we do affects others. However, what we need to remember is that if we want to make a positive difference, instead of a negative one, we need to be free from the problem ourselves. Not only will this allow us to see clearly, but it will also make us much more empathetic to the person or persons we are trying to reach, which is good for everyone.